So, good morning, everyone. I hope all of you had a wonderful weekend. So, the weekend's over. It's time to grind and rise up again. So, as all of you know, we are going to start about geography today. We are starting geography today. So, for the last around 10 days, we have finished art and culture, modern history, and Indian society. Now we have reached the last part of GS1, which is we are going to be dealing with Indian geography for the next 5 days, starting with climatology. So, before going to the session, for all of you, those who have not joined the Unbreakable Challenge, do join at the earliest, or even today. You'll get the Telegram link to join the same. So, let's speak about geography. You know, geography is a different kind of subject. Geography has a different kind of framework approach. You know, in art and culture, be it modern history and be it also Indian society, we had a lot of frameworks wherein we try to introduce the time period, wherein we try to introduce, recently Modi ji has inaugurated something, the Mann Ki Baat and all these factors, right? And also when it comes to the conclusion, we actually introduced government codes such as Ek Bharat, Shrestha Bharat, Sabka Sab, Sabka Vikas, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and all the SDG goals, all the other different themes, conservation, preservation, and all these factors, right? But then let me tell you, when it comes to geography, we are actually very limited to the number of different dimensions that we can provide in the introduction as well as the conclusion. Okay, we'll get to that later. And also, one of the most important part regarding the geography questions is that almost for all the questions, you need to draw the diagram regarding the same. And diagram, I mean not just this diagram wala, no, not that one, but then you need to draw the figures of what you are going to, of what the question specifically asks you about. So what do you need to do in case of body part? You need to draw the diagrams or even the figures. Now, where do you draw the figures? You should not be drawing on the right hand side. Okay, rather, if it is part of the most important component of your question, let's say in the first question, it basically asks about why deserts are located on the western boundaries of these continents. So where should you draw it? We should not draw on the right hand side. No. But then where do you draw it? You draw it on the middle part, right? So this was a question related to the straits and isthmus of the world and how does it contribute to the international trade. So one of the topper has drawn the world map and also he or she have underlined, marked where are the different straits. You can see the Panama Strait, Panama Isthmus, the Strait of Gibraltar, Suez Canal, and all these straits you have given here, right? So the most important part regarding geography, you need to learn to draw an Indian map and also a world map. Both of these are mandatory, and also you need to learn to draw other things as well, such as the air mass, such as how the formation of cyclones, such as the ocean currents all over the world. So you need to have a clear-cut clarity regarding the same, and also you need to practice by drawing the Indian and also the world map. Also, after you have drawn the same, it's always better to mention what you have drawn. So here you can see that figure is mentioned, right? It's always good to mention the same as well on what you have drawn here. So here the topper have mentioned figure, it relates to the important straits and isthmus in the world. So you don't just draw the diagrams as such, rather you mark what you have drawn as well. So moving to another diagrams, here you can see the different mountain ranges across the world. UPSC have asked us questions such as these, right? Why are the mountain ranges located on the western part of the continent as well? So you can see Andes have been drawn here, Atlas, Drakensberg, Western Ghats, and all these mountain ranges have been drawn. And figure you can see here the major mountain ranges of the world. Here it is related to the mineral resources of the world. Also you can see here, specifically to be saying about the oil resources of the world. So you can see here figure is written, world oil resource is mentioned, and also a world map. And also it shows where the important oil reserves are. So always, if the question has a potential to draw a map, even a world map or even Indian map. You draw the same. You don't draw it on the right hand side. If you're trying to substantiate a point in the body part, you draw it on the right hand side. But then if it is the most important component, you draw it on the middle as well. Also, when it comes to introductions and conclusions, now how do you introduce? You can't just say that recently Prime Minister Modi said in Man Ki Baat. You can't just say contemporary events. Contemporary events you can quote. But then mostly, let me tell you, in case of geography, it doesn't matter much if you don't provide a contemporary example regarding the same. Okay, it's always better to provide a contemporary example, but then even if it is a level 1 introduction, it doesn't matter much. Also, in case of conclusion as well, if you have provided a level 1 conclusion, it doesn't matter much, but then always go for the level 2 voila introductions and conclusions. Now, how can you provide a level 2 kind of introduction? Let's say this question: why is India taking keen interest in the Arctic region? Now, a level 1 kind of introduction would be you mentioning what is the Arctic region or the recent melting of the Arctic region. But then what would be a level 2? You can mention the contemporary example regarding the same. So recently, the Ministry of Earth Science has unveiled India's Arctic policy titled the India and Arctic Building Partnership for a Sustainable Development. Now, this is the way you introduce a level 2 kind of introduction. Now, what do? You try to provide a contemporary example regarding the same. So let's say a question regarding the cyclone scheme. Now, how do you provide that? You provide by saying, recently there was a cyclone in the Bay of Bengal. Right. You don't just mention tropical cyclones or these cyclones. Rather, try to provide a recent example regarding the same. But then, if you don't have a contemporary example, it's very okay in a geography question to provide a level 1 kind of introduction saying what are tropical cyclones. Even for a question such as this, the ideal solution for depleting groundwater resources in India, the ideal solution for depleting groundwater resources in India is water harvesting. How can it be made effective in urban areas? So first one, what do you have to mention here? You have to mention the depleting groundwater resources, right? So what do you need to do? You can mention a international report or even an Indian government report. So how do you do it? India is the world's largest groundwater extractor. So you can mention, according to UNESCO or according to UNDP or according to any other sources, India is the world's largest groundwater extractor. Accounts for 63% of irrigation sources, and over 80% of our rural and urban domestic water supply is accounted by groundwater. So try to mention a data providing the groundwater as well. So you can go for contemporary examples. Also, you can go for data or examples like we do it in case of all the other questions. Now, how do you conclude the same? Conclusion are the most difficult part in case of geography questions, because it's almost impossible to provide the Government of India related codes. I'm talking specifically with relation to climatology, geomorphology, oceanography, and all these factors. Okay. In case of human geography, we can provide. But then related to Indian geography, be it the Indian physical geography, climate change, and all these factors, it's very difficult to provide the government goal as well. In case of climatology, in case of climate change, we can provide. We can say that net carbon neutrality by 2070 or something. But then with regard to all these other questions, all these other topics, it's very hard to provide. So it's okay to provide a general conclusion. Okay. So here you can see that Arctic, this holds political, economical, and strategic importance, being heard equally should be the motto to preserve the long-term interest of India. So this is a very general conclusion. What about if a question regarding the ozone comes? Ozone plays a very important role in the protection and for protecting our Earth from the UV radiation, which could cause cancer, impact crops, etc. This is also a very general conclusion. So it's very okay to provide the conclusion. But then let me tell you, in case of climatology questions or such come, try to introduce Indian Meteorological Department, try to introduce the Ministry of Earth Science, try to introduce Indian Space Research Organization, try to introduce all these new latest technologies which can improve our, understanding about when a cyclone come or how a cyclone come. So always try to provide the Indian Meteorological Department should undertake several measures for detecting early warnings. You can mention the sea floors. You can mention all these latest technologies or all these initiatives which government of India have taken with regard to climatology, understanding about climate, or predicting the climate conditions in the future. So try to provide IMD, Ministry of Earth Science, ISRO, and all the other departments relating to the same. Don't just try to provide a very general conclusion, but try to introduce all these elements. So, as always, we are going to be dealing with 5 questions. With regard to climatology, if I am to say, it's very hard to predict what UPSC is going to be asking. So UPSC last time has asked about twisters. UPSC, it's getting very hard to predict the climatology questions, okay. But then one of the most important topic would be the tropical cyclones. That's why I have provided tropical cyclones, because in this initiative, I don't want to give you a question of twisters, right? Because it won't be repeating in 2025 or even 2026. So mostly we are focusing on those questions which have a repetitive value. That's why you can see here the tropical cyclone question have been repeated twice. So I have taken questions which tend to have an evergreen value here. So the first question, you can pause it here. You'll have 35 minutes to write. So you can start writing. So the first question, major hot deserts in the northern hemisphere are located between 20 to 30 degrees north and on the western side of the continent. Why? So firstly, you can't mention any contemporary example regarding the same, such as recently a desert have come up or recently Prime Minister visited to this country. It's very hard to provide a contemporary introduction regarding the same. Rather, you can mention something about the deserts. Okay, try to mention something about the deserts in the northern hemisphere. Now, what is the first body part? The first body part, you need to draw a diagram regarding the same. A diagram regarding what? You need to draw a figure which mentions, you need to draw a world map. And in the world map, you need to mention all the deserts in the northern hemisphere and even the southern hemisphere, okay, which are situated on the western side of the continent, such as the Thar Desert, such as the Atacama Desert, such as the Californian Nevada Desert, and all these deserts. Even the Sahara Desert is situated on the western side. So draw a big map. Under that, figure the world deserts or even the deserts situated on these conditions. So, and we only have another body part here. And what is the other body part? You have to mention the reasons why they are located in that areas. Okay. So introduction, mention about the deserts. Second one, first body part, you should draw the figure of the world map and jolt all the different deserts that are there. Second body part, mention the reasons why. And maybe for the conclusion, you could just provide desertification or something. You can mention the global deserts are increasing and the government should take appropriate measures in order to stop the desertification or something like that. Okay, you can mention United Nations Convention for Desertification or the recent summit regarding the same, or you can mention the recent initiatives taken by Africa, the Great Green Wall of Africa. And Africa is also building a Great Green Wall in Sahara. And also the government of India is actually also proposing a Great Green Wall to stop the expansion of Thar Desert as well. So maybe you can provide the Great Green Wall, some kind of example there. Now for the second question, the troposphere is very significant atmospheric layer that determines the weather process. So here, very general question, what can you provide in the introduction? You mentioned about troposphere in the introduction. So introduction, you mention about troposphere. And on the first body part, what can you draw? What figure can you introduce here? Any idea? What figure can you introduce in this question? You can mention the different layers of atmosphere, right? So here you can draw the different layers. The first layer would be the troposphere, followed by stratosphere, all the way to the exosphere. And you can mention clouds, flights, all these rain. You can draw all these rain, clouds, and all these factors here. Now, mention why on the second body part. Mention why all these weather processes happens on troposphere. Mention why all these weather processes, and you can mention all these weather processes in the introduction also. Okay, you can mention that troposphere is the lowermost layer wherein all the weather processes such as cloud formation, rain, and all these factors come. You can mention all that in the introduction as well. Also mention the reasons why all these factors occur in the troposphere. Now the third question, what is sea surface temperature? What is sea surface temperature rise? So in the introduction, when always a definition kind of question is asked, you mention what it is. So what is sea surface temperature rise? It's basically the rise of sea temperature. Maybe you can mention any of the government. So it's basically related to tropical cyclones. So, if possible, you can introduce according to IPCC, it projected this much increase in sea level temperature by 2030. According to IPCC, it expects its sea level temperature rise of around 30% by 2050. You can also provide any different committee reports regarding the same, or any international committee report regarding the same. Now, how does it affect the formation of tropical cyclones? Now, after providing what sea surface temperature is, or after providing a data regarding the same, you need to provide a transition. Okay, you can just directly go to how it affects the formation of conclusion. Rather, you need to provide a transitionary sentence in the introduction to link it with the formation of tropical cyclones. Okay, you can just directly go from sea level rise to how it affects the formation of tropical cyclones. Rather, try to provide a transition regarding the same. And also, in this case, draw a diagram which shows how the sea level temperature contributes to the formation of tropical cyclones. You can mention about the evaporation, condensation, and all these different factors, right? So try to draw a diagram, and also mention how does it affect the formation of tropical cyclones. Now here as well, if you want to conclude, you can mention Indian government bodies such as IMD, Ministry of Earth Science, or even any global bodies which actually works for better predicting of cyclones. You can mention any technology, any recent technology introduced by ISRO, or any satellite launched by ISRO. Anything you can provide, okay, for the better understanding of cyclones or even the climatology. Now, fourth one, tropical cyclones are largely confined to South China Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Mexico. So here you can mention any recent example. Okay, you can mention any recent contemporary cyclones which happened in these regions, and mention mostly all of these cyclones are focused on or confined into these areas. You can draw a world map. And jolt. In Bengal, you can mention all these different cyclones. In South China Sea, you can mention the name of different cyclones. In Gulf of Mexico, you can mention the name of different cyclones which actually hit all these areas in the last 10 to 20 years. Okay, so here also try to draw a world map regarding the same. Now, you have to mention the reasons. Why are tropical cyclones only limited to these areas? And also in this question as well, try to introduce any global body, any global satellite, or any other different things which actually contributes to better understanding of the tropical cyclones in the future. Now, fifth one, discuss the concept of air mass, explain the macroeconomic climatic conditions regarding the same. So in the introduction, mention about what air mass is, draw a diagram to give the evaluator a better understanding about what air mass, and in the second body part, explain its role in the macroeconomic conditions as well. So these are the 5 questions. So if you want to see the answer key regarding the same, keep on watching the video, or else you write the answer, and then after that you come and watch the rest of the videos. So going to the answer key, I have already said about all these. Try to draw a body part regarding the same, diagrams regarding the same. So what do you introduce? Now the first question. The major hot deserts, we have already mentioned the same. So how do you introduce? You can introduce by saying the major hot deserts in the northern hemisphere, such as Sahara, Arabian, Thar, Sonoran, are largely found between 20 and 30 north latitude, typically western part of the margins. It's because that, why am I providing the same thing here? It's because you can't provide anything else. That's the reason. Either you can mention the name of the different deserts, or anyways we'll be writing the same in the second body part, right? So you can't mention the reason for the same as well. That's why we tend to repeat the same thing which is asked in the question here, and it doesn't matter much, okay, because you can't introduce a contemporary element here. Now what do? You draw a diagram regarding the same. You draw a world map, and you mention all these deserts which are situated on the western region. You mentioned figure here, desert situated on the northern hemisphere on the western side. Now you mention the reasons for the same, such as the subtropical high pressure zone, the cold ocean currents across the western Ghats, which actually leads to this Atacama Desert or even the Californian Desert, and all these deserts, offshore trade winds, rain shadow regions, such as it's due to the Andes Mountains, we have the Atacama Desert, right? So you can mention all these rain shadow regions as well, and try to mention all these examples. Okay, you should mention about the Atlas Mountains, and also you should mention about the Andes Mountains, which lead to the Atacama Desert as well. High insolation evaporation, temperature inversions, continental configuration, low relative humidity. I'm not going to explain all these factors. You need to learn and understand the same, because it will take me a lot of time regarding this to explain all these factors. I have to draw all these diagrams to explain the same. Rather, I'll be just going through the factors. And on the conclusion, what can you write? All these 8 factors, you don't need to mention 8 specific factors. All these factors create a powerful combination of dry, minimal air, temperature, which are key ingredients for the formation of hot deserts. Or you can mention about the desertification, okay? You can mention that the things which I said earlier, right? The green wall, the Great Green Wall of China, or even you can mention about the United Nations combatification, desertification, or you can mention the goal regarding the same. By 2030, we are trying to stop desertification. We have a plan, right? The Bonn Convention plan we have, you can mention the plan as well. Now for the second question, troposphere is a very significant atmosphere layer that determines. So first of all, mention about troposphere. Troposphere is the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere. Troposphere is the lowest layer of the Earth's atmosphere, extending from 8 km to up to 15 or 18 km up to the equator. Then mention about the crucial role, because you need to provide a transition to the role played in weather formation. It plays a crucial role in weather formation, climate regulation, making it the most dynamic and atmospheric layer. Now, what do? You provide a diagram mentioning about the troposphere. So you can draw a diagram regarding the same. After that, what do? You mention how it contains all the weather process. You can mention about the cloud formation, rainfall, thunderstorm, snow, winds, cyclones. You can mention about the vertical air movements, the convection, temperature decrease, source of atmospheric moisture, supports wind systems, air circulation, interaction with air circuit, continuous mixing of gases. All these factors you can provide also. Also, in case of conclusion as well, even if you don't get anything regarding the same, you can just provide a very general conclusion to what atmosphere is. Because there's no conservation element for troposphere. It's not something such as the ozone layer that we need to conserve. So it's very hard to provide a good conclusion here. Rather, you can provide a very general conclusion regarding the same. Troposphere is the engine room of weather. through its vertical air movements, temperature gradients, and water vapor interaction the Earth's surface, it governs everyday weather conditions. Now that is enough. It's a geography conclusion, so it's a very general conclusion is enough for it. Now, what is sea surface temperature rise? How has it affected the formation of tropical cyclones? Either, what can you provide? You can mention about what is sea surface temperature. Now that would be a very general level 1 introduction. You can mention what sea surface temperature is, either, or you can go for any reports such as IPCC report. It basically states that the global sea temperature is expected to rise by some degrees, and it also can lead to the formation of tropical cyclones. So you try to link the sea surface temperature and also the tropical cyclones in the same introduction. So try to provide an IPCC report saying it is expected to increase by 2030 or 2 to 3 degrees by 2050 or something. You don't want to be exactly statistically correct, okay? You could just mention 1 degree, 2 degrees if you don't have any, okay? Now, what do? You provide a diagram regarding the same, how the sea surface formation, sea surface temperature increase leads to the formation of tropical cyclones. You provide a diagram. Then you mention about why it leads to latent heat energy, threshold of tropical cyclones, increases cyclone intensity, enhances cyclone duration and its lifespan, and expands the cyclone season. Now, if you can provide more than 6 points, it's definitely good. I know the number of points regarding sea surface temperature is very hard to generate, but then at least try to provide 4 points regarding the same. Okay. Now, what can you do? Either you can mention that we need to reduce sea surface temperature by reducing global warming. Reducing global warming. So then, since this is more of a climate change question, you can mention all the countries of the world should try to achieve the Paris Climate Agreement or even net carbon neutrality by 2050. China, it's 2060, and India, it's 2070. But then all the countries should try to scope for or achieve net carbon neutrality by 2050 in order to reduce the sea surface temperature rise. Or else you can mention the Indian Meteorological Department or even the Ministry of Earth Science. Ministry of Earth Science should invest in technology for the better prediction, enhanced forecasting, monitoring, and public preparedness to tackle these cyclones intensifying due to the sea surface temperature. Okay, so go for a long-term approach, or else the government of India can provide for storm breaks, such as the plantation of cyclones as done by the Odisha government. So try to mention or try to innovate in your conclusions, okay? Because this is a tropical cyclone question. This is more of a climate change question. So therefore, a scope of providing a level 2 in conclusions exists. Go for reports, go for net carbon neutrality, go for any other things, okay? Try to introduce, try to innovate your conclusion in this question. Now the next question, tropical cyclones, again a similar question. Tropical cyclones are largely confined to South China Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Gulf of Mexico. Why? Now here, what can you mention? You can either mention a level 1 kind of introduction would be, this is a level 1 kind of introduction. Now it can be mentioning what tropical cyclones are, because tropical cyclones are intense low pressure system characterized by strong winds, heavy rainfall, and storm surges. While they can technically form in any warm ocean between 5 to 30 degree latitude, their formation is disproportionately centered on regions such as South China Sea, Bay of Bengal, or the Gulf of Mexico. Now this is a good introduction wherein you provide what tropical cyclones are and also you provide where they are focused. Or else try to bring in a contemporary example regarding the same. Now how can you introduce it? You can mention the recent cyclones like Barry in the Gulf of Mexico, Woodtip in the South China Sea, and Fengal in the Bay of Bengal highlight the frequent occurrence of tropical cyclones in these regions, making them some of the most vulnerable and cyclone-prone regions in the world. Now, what have you done here? You have mentioned about the recent examples regarding the same. This can be a level 2. Now, what do you need to do? You need to draw a world map, then mention about all these cyclones which has happened in the Bay of Bengal, mention all the cyclones which has happened in South China Sea and also the Gulf of Mexico. And for the second body part, what do you need to do? You have to mention how or why these cyclones occurs in these particular regions. You can mention about the warm sea surface temperature. You can mention about the vertical wind shear. You can mention about the number of rivers flowing, going to these seas such as Ganga, Brahmaputra, Yangtze, and all these different rivers. You can mention about all these rivers going to the Gulf of Mexico as well, Mississippi, and all these rivers. So high tropospheric humidity, adequate correlations force should be there. Geographical, such as the rivers that I said, favorable seasonal winds and convergence. Also, in this question as well, you can mention about the recent initiatives such as ISRO or any other satellites which you have launched, or else you can mention about the Indian Meteorological Department or even the Ministry of Earth Science in forecasting models, community awareness to reduce the impact of increasingly cyclone. Actually, the Odisha example is something you can quote here. Now, this is a more of disaster management topic. You don't need to quote this in geography, but then go for the Odisha example, okay? In case when tropical cyclone question is asked, go for the Odisha example case study, wherein they have significantly reduced the casualties with regard to a cyclone. This is a textbook example on how the government should perform when a tropical cyclone is going to hit a particular state. So go and try to learn the Odisha example, and also, as I said before, try to go for IMD, Ministry of Earth Science, sea flows, all the different satellites which are related to climatology and all these factors. Yeah. So since it's the first day of geography, if you have any doubts, you can comment in the comment section right now. Does any of you have any doubts regarding geography? Any doubts, anyone? Okay. So I hope all of you enjoyed the session. I hope all of you doesn't have any doubts. Also, I was watching a video yesterday which actually motivated me a lot. I'll say about the video in a brief moment. So it was a video regarding Lee Kuan Yew, who was the Prime Minister of Singapore, and he was actually addressing a rally for his elections, and he talked about an issue about the Singapore Airlines issue and all these employees and all these pilots which are protesting. And after that, he actually said a really powerful quote. Now, what he said is, anyone who governs Singapore must have the fire in him or live it up. This is not a game of cards. It's my life and yours. So what I meant to say is that every person who is preparing for UPSC must have that iron in him or give it up. Okay, so what I'm saying is you should be very disciplined. It's not that once in a while you study 8 hours today and then you don't study for the next day, or you just study 4 hours in a day. You need to be very disciplined, you need to be very perseverant, and you should have the iron in you to clear this exam, or else you won't clear it. Let me tell you, it's not just a passive thing that you're doing. You should be very active. You should be focusing. It's time to come up. It's time to rise again. Even though you must have failed prelims, 1 month is over. Now it's time to rise up again, right? So rise up again. If you have any doubts, if you need mentorship, or if you need any help, you can text me in Telegram. We at Civilsdaily is always there for you. So I hope you all enjoyed the session. See you again at tomorrow 11 a.m. with geomorphology and also climatology. Thank you.